Okay, guys. So happy Friday. So we're going to go through the Nearpod presentation that we had today in class. So you should be joining by clicking on the Nearpod student-led that's posted in your Google Classroom, and we can go through it together. So students will be able to identify and evaluate. I'm reading off the objectives in the first slide. Students will be able to identify and evaluate the use of rhetorical devices to build an effective argument. Critique and evaluate the effectiveness of a speech's structure, appeals, evidence, and treatment of counter arguments. Whoa, there was just a bug. Oh my gosh. This Nearpod lesson will review the characteristics and structural elements of an argument before reading and critiquing a speech. Our next slide. Overview. So let's go over what a hook is, okay? The hook grabs readers' attention and catches their interest, may establish connection between reader and writer, and provide background information. Might be an anecdote, image, definition, or quote, and the claim usually comes in the opening section of a text, states the author's main point, and can be straightforward and direct. So the hook catches the reader's attention. The claim is, this is where I'm at. Concessions, and I'm just clicking next on the arrows. That's what you should be doing too as you go through the Nearpod. Concessions and rebuttal. Recognize arguments made by the other side. Build credibility by showing ability to discuss each side with appropriate objectivity. And the support sets out the reasoning behind an argument, provides evidence of the claim, data, quotations, and anecdotes. May include appeals to logic, emotions, or ethics. Okay, so the concessions and the rebuttals are recognizing the other side, like, okay, I see that maybe, let's say we're arguing about chocolate or vanilla ice cream. I see how vanilla lovers may think that they don't like chocolate because it's too sweet, blah, 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 recognizing that, okay? Support is supporting your argument. Call to action. Draws the argument to a close and restates the claim, may make a final new appeal to values, may voice a final plea, and sums up the argument and asks the reader to do something or take action. And next you have a matching. So, which word goes in the first blank? May establish connection between reader and writer and provide background information. Grabs the reader's interest. Which one would that be? Think about the very beginning. And then we just talked about it, states the author's main point. And you can also go back in your slide and reread what it was. Recognizes arguments made by the other side, builds credibility by showing ability to discuss each side without objectivity. Which one would that be? And then, sets out the reasoning behind an argument. So if you're arguing something, then you need to have what? Is it a hook, an action, or support? And then may include appeals to logic, emotions, or ethics. This is called a call to blank, okay? The National American Suffrage Association. So I'm reading about the author. Florence Kelley was an American social worker and reformer starting in 1892 in Chicago. Kelley did extensive investigative work delving into the slum and her sweatshop conditions. Her findings and articles sparked legislatures to limit women working hours, prohibit child labor, and regulate sweatshops. She was also instrumental in groundbreaking legislation for minimum wages. She delivered the following speech for the convention of the National American Woman Suffrage Association in Philadelphia on July 22, 1905. The association fought to allow women the right to vote in elections. So what do we know so far? We have a female speaker. She's a human rights activist. She's a social worker. And this speech was given at the convention of the National American Woman Suffrage Association. So follow along. And on your student-led, there's an audio. So I'm going to push that and let it play for you guys.
To the National American Woman Suffrage Association, Philadelphia, July 22nd, 19...
You know what? I'm just going to read it because it's too quiet, so just in case you don't get it. So, We have in this country 2 million children under the age of 16 years who are earning their bread. They vary in age from 6 and 7 years in the cotton mills of Georgia and 8, 9, 10 years in coal breakers of Pennsylvania, to 14, 15, 16 years in more enlightened states. Tonight, while we sleep, several thousand little girls will be working in textile mills. All the night through, in the deafening noise of the spindles in the looms, spinning and weaving cotton and wool, silks and ribbons for us to buy. In Alabama, a law provides that a children under 16 years of age shall not work in a cotton mill at night longer than 8 hours. And Alabama does better in this respect than any other southern state. North and South Carolina and Georgia place no restriction upon the work of children at night. And while we sleep, little girls will be working tonight in the mills in those states, working 11 hours at night. In Georgia, there is no restriction whatever. A girl of 6 or 7 years, just tall enough to reach the bobbins, may work 11 hours by day or night, and they will do so tonight while we sleep. Nor is it only in the South that these things occur. Alabama does better than New Jersey, for Alabama limits the children's work at night to 8 hours, while New Jersey permits it all night long. Last year, New Jersey took a long step backward. A good law was repealed which had required women and children to stop work at 6 in the evening and at noon on Friday. Now, therefore, in New Jersey, boys and girls, after their 14th birthday, enjoy the pitiful privilege of working all night long. Okay, so we're just going to stop right there for a second, because that should be where your thing ended. You have a quick quiz. What factual information does Kelly present about child labor? How is she making appeals to her audience's logic, emotion, or sense of the ethics with this information? Is it A, Kelly shares statistics about children injured while working? Think about it. Did you hear any statistics about children working? My back hurts sitting in these chairs all day. Kelly shares a story about when she was a child working. I don't know if I remember that one. Kelly shares facts about the ages and specific hours that children are legally allowed to work in various states. These appeal to the sympathies of the women and mothers in the audience. Could possibly be that one. Kelly shares the laws against child labor. So if you need to go back into the text, it's on Springboard 1.9 to figure out what the correct answer might be. Give you a second to answer that if you're still working. Okay. So your next slide should say, Kelly shares facts about the ages and specific hours that children are legally allowed to work in various states. These appeal to the sympathies of the audience as women and mothers. The details of the laws also lend credibility to the truth that child labors exist. Okay, remember, she uses pathos by appealing to those women, and credibility means ethos. Okay, so now you're going to listen for the claim, and I will go back and read that. So if you're following along on Springboard, we are on 1.9, paragraph 6. In Pennsylvania, until last May, it was lawful for children 13 years of age to work 12 hours at a night. A little girl on her 13th birthday could start away from the home at 5:30 in the afternoon, carrying her pail of midnight luncheon, as happier people carry their midday luncheon, and could work in the mill from 6 at night until 6 in the morning without violating any law of the Commonwealth. If the mothers and teachers in Georgia could vote, would the Georgia legislature have refused at every session for the last 3 years to stop the work in the mills of children under 12 years of age? So think about that. That could possibly be her claim. I'm going to read that again. If the mothers and teachers in Georgia could vote, would the Georgia legislature have refused at every session of the last 3 years to stop the work in the mills of children under 12 years of age? Would the New Jersey legislature have passed that shameful repeal bill enabling girls of 14 years to work all night if the mothers in New Jersey were enfranchised until the mothers in the great industrial states? Okay. Let's go back to our Nearpod. So there should be a collaborate mode on there. And then you should be able to post what you think her claim is. Okay. And then your next slide should look like a little notebook, and it says the answer. So Kelly makes her claim in paragraph 7. Her rhetorical question introduces the relationship between child labor and women's suffrage. Kelly argues that if women could vote, this type of abuse would not be happening. And then we're just going to finish up the text. So we're starting on the middle of 8. Where it says, until the mothers in the great industrial states are enfranchised, we shall none of us be able to free our conscience from participation in this great evil. No one in this room tonight can feel free from such participation. The children make our shoes in the shoe factories. They knit our stockings, our knitted underwear in the knitting factories. They spin and weave our cotton underwear in the cotton mills. Children braid straw for hats. They spin and weave the silk and velvet wherewith we trim our hats. They stamp buckles and metal ornaments of all kinds, as well as pins and hat pins under the sweating system. Tiny children make artificial flowers and beasts of burden robbed of school life that may work for us. 1 second, I'll be right back because my kindergartner is not on his thing. Are you back, babies? Aiden, where's your iPad? Are you listening to it? Get your iPad so you know what to do. So you're listening to it? Okay. Focus. Okay, sorry about that. And I didn't want to stop my video. We do not wish this. We prefer to have our work done by men and women, but we are almost powerless. Not wholly powerless, however, are citizens who enjoy the right of petition. For myself, I shall use this power in every possible way until the right to the ballot is granted, and I shall continue to use both. What can we do to free our conscience? There is no line of action by which we can do much. We can enlist the working men on behalf of our enfranchisement, just in proportion as we strive with them to free the children. No labor organization in this country ever fails to respond to an appeal for help in freeing the children. For the sake of the children, for the republic in which these children will vote after we are dead, and for the sake of our cause, we should enlist the working men voters with us in this task of freeing the children from toil. So basically she's saying, like, we should all vote, obviously, but at this time women couldn't vote, so they're going to recruit a bunch of men in order to have those men vote with their will to end child labor. Okay. And I'm going to read this small paragraph again, second part of paragraph 8. They stamp buckles and metal ornaments of all kinds, as well as pins and hat pins under the sweating system. Tiny children make artificial flowers and neckwear for us to buy. They carry bundles of garments from the factories to the tenements. Little beasts of burden. I want you to remember that. Little beasts of burden. Like, what tone does that give? Like, you hear these kids are little beasts of burden. Like, is that happy? Is it deep with anger and it makes it sad? Think about that. Robbed of school life that they may work for us. Okay, so let's go back to our Nearpod. So you're now taking a quiz again. Using the phrase little beasts of burden, Kelly creates what type of tone? Is it a deep, angry tone in order to appeal to the audience and their emotions? A scared and timid tone in order to appeal to the audience and their emotions? Or a happy tone in order to appeal to the audience and their emotions? Give you a second to answer that one.